Think about a city that never sleeps. A city full of bright lights and big dreams. A city that people from all over the world call home. Today we are going to discover how New York became that city. Welcome back to my channel Learning English Level 3. In this video, we will explore the history of New York. A story filled with brave explorers, hard-working immigrants, tall skyscrapers, painful struggles, and strong comebacks. This is not just a history lesson. It is a story about growth. It is a story about never giving up. And while you listen to this powerful journey, you will also improve your English listening skills. I will use short and simple sentences. This will help you understand easily. It will help you learn new words. It will help you build confidence in English step by step. So stay with me until the end. The story gets more exciting as we move forward. Before we begin, please subscribe to my channel. It helps this channel grow and helps more learners like you improve their English. Now get ready. Let us travel through time and discover the inspiring history of New York. The land before the city. Long before bright lights filled the sky, long before cars rushed through busy streets, the land we now call New York was quiet and green. There were no tall buildings. There were no bridges. There were no crowded trains. Instead, there were forests, rivers, and open land. Nature ruled everything. The first people who lived there were Native American tribes. One of the main groups was called the Lenape. They knew the land very well. They understood the rivers. They respected the animals. They believed the earth was a gift. They did not see land as something to own. They saw it as something to care for. The forests were thick and full of life. Tall trees touched the sky. Birds sang in the morning. Deer ran through the woods. The rivers were clean and full of fish. The Hudson River flowed strongly, gave food and water to the people. The land provided everything they needed. Life was simple, but it was not easy. The Lenape people worked hard every day. The men hunted animals like deer and turkey. They used bows and arrows. The women grew crops like corn, beans, and squash. These crops were called the Three Sisters. They helped each other grow, just like people help each other in a strong community. The Lenape built small villages. Their homes were called wigwams. They were made from wood and bark. These homes kept them warm in winter and cool in summer. Families lived close together. They shared food. They shared stories. They taught children about nature and respect. There were no big cities. There was no noise from machines. At night, the sky was full of stars. The only sounds were the wind, the water, and the animals. It was a peaceful world. People lived in balance with nature. The Lenape also had strong traditions. They believed in spirits. They believed everything in nature had meaning. They held ceremonies. They told stories from one generation to the next. These stories taught lessons about bravery, kindness, and wisdom. Think about this for a moment. The land that is now covered with concrete and steel was once full of trees and open skies. Times Square, one of the busiest places in the world, was once silent forest. Wall Street, now known for money and business, was once a simple path through nature. This part of history teaches us something powerful. Great cities do not appear overnight. Every big success begins with a simple beginning. New York started as untouched land. It was quiet. It was natural. It was pure. Change came later. Explorers arrived. Settlers built towns. The land slowly transformed. But before all of that, there was peace and balance. When we learn about the land before the city, we remember something important. Growth is part of life. Change is part of history. But we must never forget our roots. Just like New York grew from forest to world-famous city, you can grow from small beginnings to great success. Every big story starts somewhere. New York's story began with nature, strength, and simple living. And that is a powerful beginning. When explorers first arrived, in the early 1600s, everything began to change. The quiet land of forests and rivers was about to meet the outside world. Ships were crossing the ocean. Brave explorers were searching for new lands. They wanted riches. They wanted trade. They wanted new opportunities. In 1609, an English explorer named Henry Hudson sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. He worked for the Dutch East India Company. His mission was to find a shorter route to Asia. He hoped to find a quick water path to trade spices and goods. But instead of finding Asia, he found something else. He discovered a wide and powerful river. Today we call it the Hudson River. As Hudson's ships sailed into the harbor, he saw beautiful land. There were tall trees everywhere. The water was clean and deep. The land looked rich and full of promise. For Hudson and his crew, this was exciting. They believed this place could bring wealth and success. But they were not alone. The Lenape people were already living there. They watched the large ship with curiosity. They had never seen anything like it before. The explorers and the native people met for the first time. At first, the meetings were peaceful. They traded goods. The Native Americans traded animal furs. The Europeans traded metal tools, cloth, and other items. The fur trade quickly became very important. Animal furs were valuable in Europe. Many Europeans wanted warm fur hats and coats. This trade made the land even more attractive to the Dutch. They saw money and opportunity in this new place. Soon after Hudson's journey, more Dutch ships arrived. They wanted to explore further. They wanted to build trading posts. Small settlements began to form near the river. The land was no longer just forest. It was slowly becoming a center for trade. For the explorers, this was a time of courage. Crossing the ocean was dangerous. Storms could destroy ships. Food could run out. Many sailors became sick. Yet they still sailed forward. They believed in discovery. They believed in new beginnings. This moment in history teaches us something powerful. Sometimes we search for one dream and find another. Henry Hudson was looking for Asia. He did not find it. But his journey changed history forever. His mistake became an opportunity. Life is like that too. You may plan one path. You may dream of one goal. But sometimes life takes you somewhere unexpected. That new place might be even greater than what you first imagined. The arrival of explorers marked the beginning of a new chapter for this land. It brought trade, growth, and big changes. It also brought challenges and conflicts later on. But it all started with one brave journey across a wide ocean. From one ship on a quiet river, the future city of New York began to take shape. It reminds us that big changes often start with one bold step. Never be afraid to explore. Never be afraid to try. Your journey, just like Hudson's, may lead to something greater than you ever expected. The birth of New Amsterdam. After Henry Hudson's voyage, the Dutch saw great opportunity in the new land. They wanted to build a strong trading center. They wanted to control the fur trade. So in 1624, Dutch settlers arrived and began building a small colony. They called it New Amsterdam. At first, New Amsterdam was very small. There were only a few wooden houses. There were dirt roads instead of paved streets. The settlement stood at the southern tip of Manhattan Island. It was surrounded by water. This location was perfect for trade. Ships could easily arrive and leave. Life in New Amsterdam was not easy. The settlers had to build everything from the ground up. They cut down trees. They built homes. They created farms. Winters were cold and harsh. Food was sometimes limited. But the people did not give up. They worked hard every day. The Dutch West India Company controlled the colony. They wanted profit. They focused on trade. The most important business was fur. Beaver fur was very valuable in Europe. Many settlers worked as traders. They exchanged goods with Native American tribes. Over time, New Amsterdam became an important trading port. The colony was also very diverse. People from different countries came to live there. There were not only Dutch settlers, but also Germans, Africans, and others. Different languages were spoken in the streets. Different cultures mixed together. This early diversity later became one of New York's greatest strengths. In 1626, a famous event took place. Peter Minuit, a Dutch leader, made a deal with the Lenape people. He bought Manhattan Island for goods worth about 60 guilders. This story is often told as the purchase of Manhattan for $24. While the true details are more complex, this moment became an important part of history. To protect the colony, the settlers built a wooden wall in 1653. They feared attacks from other European powers. This wall stood along the northern border of the settlement. Today, the street near that place is called Wall Street. It later became one of the most famous financial centers in the world. New Amsterdam slowly grew stronger. Ships filled the harbor. Markets became busy. Farmers brought crops to sell. Craftsmen built tools and furniture. The small colony was alive with hope and hard work. However, the colony also faced problems. There were conflicts with Native Americans. There were disagreements among settlers. Leadership was sometimes strict and unfair. But even with these struggles, the settlement survived. The birth of New Amsterdam teaches us an important lesson. Great cities start small. They begin with simple houses and big dreams. The people who built New Amsterdam did not know they were building the future New York City. They were simply trying to survive and succeed. Step by step, the colony grew. Every house built, every trade made, every challenge faced. All of it shaped the future. From a tiny trading post on Manhattan Island, a world-famous city began its journey. It reminds us that humble beginnings can lead to powerful futures. If people stay strong, work hard, and believe in growth, even the smallest settlement can become something extraordinary. From Dutch rule to British power, New Amsterdam was growing. Ships filled the harbor. Trade was strong. People from many lands lived together. But change was coming again. Powerful nations in Europe wanted control of important colonies. England was one of them. In 1664, English warships sailed into the harbor of New Amsterdam. The British wanted the colony. They believed it was valuable because of its location and trade. The Dutch governor at that time was Peter Stuyvesant. He was a strong leader, but he did not have enough soldiers to fight the British Navy. The people of New Amsterdam were afraid of war. They did not want their homes destroyed. They did not want violence in their streets. So instead of fighting, the colony surrendered peacefully. The British took control without a battle. This moment changed history. The British renamed the colony New York. The name came from the Duke of York, who later became King James II of England. With a new name came new leadership and new rules. The Dutch flag came down. The British flag went up. Even though power changed, daily life did not change overnight. Many Dutch families stayed. They kept their farms and businesses. They continued to speak their language at home. Over time, Dutch and English cultures mixed together. This mix helped shape the unique identity of New York. Under British rule, the colony grew even more. Trade expanded. The port became busier. More settlers arrived from England and other parts of Europe. The population increased. Streets became more crowded. Businesses became stronger. The British also brought new systems of government. They introduced English laws. They created courts. They formed local assemblies. These systems later influenced American government. New York was slowly becoming an important center in the colonies. However, not everyone was happy. Some people felt that the British leaders cared more about money than about the colonists. Taxes increased. Rules became stricter. Over time, tension began to grow between the colonies and Britain. Still, New York continued to develop. Farms produced crops. Merchants sold goods. Craftsmen built tools and ships. The city's location made it perfect for trade between the North and South. It was becoming one of the most important cities in the American colonies. This period teaches us a strong lesson. Change can feel scary. When the British ships arrived, people feared the worst. But instead of destroying the city, the change helped it grow in new ways. Sometimes change opens doors we cannot yet see. New York did not stay the same. It adapted, learned, it grew stronger. The mix of Dutch and British culture made the city more diverse and rich in tradition. From Dutch rule to British power, New York showed resilience. It faced uncertainty but did not collapse. Moved forward. Life is like that too. Sometimes control shifts. Situations change. New rules appear. But if you stay flexible and strong, you can grow through change. New York's story reminds us that change is not the end. Often, it is the beginning of something greater. New York and the American Revolution. As the 1700s moved forward, tension began to grow in the American colonies. The British government started to place heavy taxes on the colonists. They taxed paper. They taxed tea. They taxed many daily goods. The colonists were angry. They believed it was unfair to pay taxes without having a voice in the British government. They wanted freedom. They wanted rights. New York became an important place during this time. It was one of the largest and richest cities in the colonies. Its port was busy. Its people were active in trade and politics. Many meetings were held there. People gathered to talk about liberty and justice. The idea of independence began to spread. In 1776, the American Revolution began. The colonies decided to fight for freedom from British rule. New York quickly became a key battlefield. Both the British and the American armies knew that controlling New York was very important. Its location and harbor made it powerful. General George Washington led the American army. The British army was strong and well trained. In the summer of 1776, major battles were fought in and around New York. The Battle of Long Island was one of the largest battles of the war. The American forces fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Washington and his soldiers had to retreat. It was a hard moment. Many felt discouraged. The British took control of New York City. For several years, the city remained under British control. It became the main British military base in America. Life during the war was not easy. Families were divided. Some people supported independence. Others stayed loyal to Britain. Soldiers marched through the streets. Supplies were limited. Fear and uncertainty filled the air. In 1776, a terrible fire broke out in New York City. Much of the city was destroyed. Homes and buildings burned down. Many people lost everything. But even in this dark time, hope did not die. The war continued for years. Battles were fought in many places. Slowly, the American forces gained strength. In 1783, the war finally ended. The British surrendered. America became an independent nation. On November 25, 1783, the British Army left New York City. American soldiers marched in. It was a day of celebration. People cheered in the streets. The long fight for freedom had ended. New York had suffered during the war. It had seen loss, fear, and destruction. But it had also shown courage. It had stood at the center of a fight for liberty. It had played a key role in the birth of a new nation. This part of history teaches us something powerful. Freedom is not easy. Success often requires sacrifice. There will be times when you feel defeated, just like Washington after losing battles. But giving up is not the answer. New York did not give up. America did not give up. They kept moving forward. The American Revolution changed New York forever. It was no longer just a British colony. It was part of a free nation. From struggle came strength. From hardship came independence. And that is the lesson we can carry today. Even in your hardest battles, stay strong. Stay hopeful. Victory may be closer than you think. The first capital of a new nation. After the American Revolution ended in 1783, the United States was finally free. The colonies were no longer under British rule. A new nation was born. But the country still needed strong leadership. It needed a government. It needed a place to begin its journey as an independent nation. For a short but very important time, New York City became the first capital of the United States under the new Constitution. This was a proud moment in its history. The city that had seen war and struggle was now at the center of hope and new beginnings. In 1789, something historic happened. George Washington traveled to New York City. He was chosen to become the first president of the United States. On April 30, 1789, he took the oath of office at Federal Hall on Wall Street. Crowds gathered to watch. People cheered. Church bells rang across the city. Imagine that day. The streets were full of excitement. Men, women, and children stood together. They knew they were watching history. A new government was starting. A new future was opening. And New York was the stage for this powerful moment. Federal Hall became a symbol of democracy. Inside that building, leaders met to discuss laws. They worked to build a system that would protect freedom and rights. The Bill of Rights was introduced during this time. Important decisions were made that shaped the future of the country. New York was busy with energy. Politicians, writers, and thinkers gathered in the city. They talked about justice. They talked about unity. They wanted to make sure the mistakes of the past would not happen again. But being the capital was not easy. There were many challenges. The country had debt from the war. The government was still new and fragile. Leaders had to earn the trust of the people. They had to prove that democracy could work. Even though New York was the first capital, it did not remain the capital for long. In 1790, the capital moved to Philadelphia. Later it moved to Washington, D.C., where it remains today. But New York's role in the beginning of the nation will never be forgotten. This short period as the first capital shows us something powerful. You do not need a long time to make a big impact. Even a short moment can change history. New York helped set the foundation for a strong and united country. Think about this lesson in your own life. Sometimes you may have a small opportunity. It may not last forever. But what you do in that moment matters. New York used its moment well. It became the birthplace of leadership for a new nation. From war to independence, and from colony to capital, New York showed growth and strength. It proved that it could rise from struggle and become a symbol of hope. The first capital of a new nation was not just a title. It was a responsibility. And New York carried it with pride. That moment reminds us that with courage and unity, new beginnings can lead to great futures. Immigrants and the city of dreams. In the 1800s, New York began to change faster than ever before. Ships arrived every day. They carried people from faraway lands. These people were called immigrants. They came from Ireland, Germany, Italy, Russia, and many other countries. Later, people also came from Asia and other parts of the world. They all came with hope in their hearts. Many immigrants were poor. Some were escaping war. Others were escaping hunger and poverty. Some wanted religious freedom. Some simply wanted a better life for their children. They left behind their homes, families, and everything familiar. The journey across the ocean was long and difficult. Ships were crowded. Food was limited. Many people felt sick. But they kept going because they believed in a brighter future. When immigrants arrived in New York Harbor, they often saw something amazing. The Statue of Liberty. It stood tall with a torch in her hand. It became a powerful symbol of freedom and welcome. For many families, this was their first sign that they had reached a new beginning. After 1892, many immigrants passed through Ellis Island. There, officials checked their health and documents. Some people were afraid they would be sent back. They waited in long lines. They answered many questions. But most were allowed to enter. When they stepped onto the streets of New York, they felt both excited and nervous. Life was not easy at first. Many immigrants lived in small, crowded apartments called tenements. Families shared tiny rooms. Streets were noisy and busy. Jobs were hard and low-paying. Many worked in factories. Some worked in construction. Others sold food or opened small shops. Even though life was tough, immigrants did not give up. They worked long hours. They saved money. They helped each other. Neighborhoods formed where people spoke the same language and shared the same traditions. Little Italy, Chinatown, and other communities began to grow. These neighborhoods kept culture alive while building something new. Children of immigrants often went to school. They learned English. They studied hard. Many became doctors, teachers, business owners, and leaders. One generation struggled so the next generation could rise higher. New York became known as the City of Dreams. It was a place where anyone, no matter how poor, could try to succeed. Hard work mattered. Courage mattered. Determination mattered. This period teaches us a powerful lesson. The immigrants who arrived in New York did not have easy lives. They faced fear, language barriers, and discrimination. But they had strong hope. They believed in opportunity. Their stories remind us that success often begins with struggle. Big dreams require brave steps. Leaving comfort behind is not easy. Starting over is not simple. But growth happens when we dare to try. Today, New York is one of the most diverse cities in the world. Many cultures live side by side. Different foods, languages, and traditions fill the streets. This diversity is the city's strength. The immigrants built New York with their hands and their dreams. They proved that no matter where you come from, you can create a new future. And just like them, you can chase your dreams too. Never let fear stop you. Keep moving forward. Your dream city is waiting. The rise of skyscrapers and big business. As the 1900s began, New York entered a new era. The city was growing fast. More people were arriving. More businesses were opening. Space on the ground was limited. So the city decided to grow upward. Skyscrapers began to rise into the sky. New technology made this possible. Steel frames made buildings stronger. Elevators made it easy to reach high floors. Architects and engineers worked with bold ideas. They wanted to build taller than ever before. They wanted to show the world that New York was powerful. In 1902, the Flatiron Building was completed. Its unique triangle shape caught everyone's attention. Then came even taller buildings. In 1930, the Chrysler Building was finished. It shined with bright metal at the top. Soon after, in 1931, the Empire State Building was completed. It became the tallest building in the world at that time. People looked up in wonder. These buildings were more than concrete and steel. They were symbols of ambition. They showed that dreams could rise high above the clouds. At the same time, business in New York was booming. Wall Street became the heart of finance. Banks, investors, and companies gathered there. Money moved quickly. Big decisions were made in tall office buildings. New York became a global center for trade and business. Industries like publishing, fashion, and advertising also grew strong. Broadway became famous for theater and entertainment. Times Square filled with bright lights and big signs. The city felt alive day and night. But success did not come without challenges. In 1929, the stock market crashed. This event led to the Great Depression. Many businesses failed. Many people lost their jobs. It was a painful time. Even in New York, hope seemed to fade. Yet the city did not give up. People continued to work hard. New projects created jobs. Bridges, tunnels, and public buildings were built. The city slowly recovered. It proved that even after falling, it could rise again. The rise of skyscrapers and big business teaches us something important. Growth requires courage. Building tall towers was risky. Investing money was risky. But without risk there is no progress. New York chose to dream big. Chose to build big. It chose to believe in its future. When you see the New York skyline today, you see more than buildings. You see history. You see effort. You see the power of human imagination. Each skyscraper tells a story of workers who carried steel beams, of engineers who solved problems, of leaders who believed in bold ideas. Step by step, floor by floor, they built something incredible. Your dreams are like skyscrapers. They may look impossible at first. They may seem too high. But with strong foundations and steady effort, you can build them. New York's skyline reminds us to aim higher, to think bigger, to never be afraid of reaching for the sky. Because when you dare to rise, the world will look up and see your strength. Hard times and strong comebacks. New York has always been strong. But its journey was not always easy. The city faced many hard times. Faced fear. Faced loss. Faced deep pain. Yet each time it found a way to rise again. In 1929 the stock market crashed. Wall Street was shocked. Banks closed. Businesses failed. Thousands of people lost their jobs. Families struggled to buy food. This period was called the Great Depression. Even in a powerful city like New York, people stood in long lines for bread. Hope felt very small. But the people did not give up. Workers built bridges, roads, and public buildings. Communities helped one another. Slowly, the city began to breathe again. Step by step, it recovered. Years later, in the 1970s, New York faced another crisis. The city was almost out of money. Crime rates were high. Many people felt unsafe. Some businesses left. Buildings were abandoned. The city's image suffered. It seemed like New York had lost its shine. But once again, something powerful happened. The people refused to let their city fall. Leaders made difficult decisions. Police and communities worked together. Artists, musicians, and entrepreneurs brought new energy. Neighborhoods improved. Tourism returned. The city slowly rebuilt its strength. Then came one of the darkest days in history. September 11, 2001. On that morning, the world watched in shock as the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center were attacked. Thousands of innocent lives were lost. Families were broken. The city was heartbroken. Smoke filled the sky. Fear filled the streets. It was a moment of deep sorrow. But even in that pain, the spirit of New York stood strong. Firefighters, police officers, and ordinary citizens showed incredible bravery. People helped strangers. They opened their homes. They donated blood. They stood together. The phrase "New York Strong" became more than words. It became a promise. The city rebuilt. A new One World Trade Center tower now stands where the old towers once stood. It rises tall as a symbol of resilience. It reminds the world that even after great loss, hope can return. New York also faced challenges like Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Floods damaged homes and streets. Businesses closed. But once again people came together. Volunteers helped clean neighborhoods. Workers repaired subways and buildings. The city moved forward. These hard times teach us something powerful. Strength is not about never falling. Strength is about rising every time you fall. New York has cried, has struggled. It has faced moments when the future looked uncertain. But it never stayed down. The city's story shows that pain does not define you. Failure does not end you. Loss does not destroy you unless you give up. Just like New York, you may face hard seasons in life. You may feel lost. You may feel broken. But remember this. Strong comebacks create powerful stories. New York's greatest beauty is not just in its skyline. It is in its courage. No matter how dark the night becomes, the city finds its light again. And so can you. New York today. A city that never gives up. Today, New York stands as one of the most famous cities in the world. It is bright. It is loud. It is full of life. Millions of people walk its streets every day. Yellow taxis move quickly. Trains run under the ground. Lights shine all night. The city never truly sleeps. But New York is more than tall buildings and busy roads. It is a place of dreams. People from almost every country in the world live there. More than 800 languages are spoken in the city. Different cultures share the same space. Different foods, music, and traditions mix together. This diversity makes New York special. Times Square glows with giant screens. Central Park offers green space in the middle of concrete. Broadway brings stories to life on stage. Wall Street moves global markets. Museums protect art and history. Universities teach future leaders. Every corner of the city has energy. New York is also a center for opportunity. Many people move there to chase big dreams. Some want to become actors. Some want to build businesses. Some want to study at top schools. Others simply want a fresh start. The city welcomes them with open arms, but it also challenges them. Life in New York is not easy. It is expensive. It is fast. Can feel overwhelming. But that is part of its power. The city pushes people to work harder, teaches independence, builds confidence. In recent years, New York faced new challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic brought silence to streets that were once crowded. Businesses closed. Hospitals were full. Families stayed inside. For a moment the city felt still. But once again New York showed its strength. Healthcare workers became heroes. Neighbors helped neighbors. Restaurants found creative ways to survive. Slowly life returned. Lights came back on. Broadway reopened. People stepped outside again. The heartbeat of the city grew stronger. New York continues to change and grow. New buildings rise. New businesses start. Technology companies expand. Artists create new ideas. The city keeps moving forward. What makes New York powerful is not just its size. It is its spirit. It is the belief that no matter what happens, tomorrow can be better. It is the courage to keep trying. It is the refusal to give up. When you look at New York today, you see a city built on centuries of struggle, hope, and determination. From forests to skyscrapers. From small trading posts to global leadership. From tragedy to triumph. The city's message is clear. Keep going. No matter where you come from. No matter how small your beginning is. No matter how many times you fall. New York proves that growth is always possible. Reinvention is always possible. Success is always possible for those who dare to try. It is truly a city that never gives up. And just like New York, you have the power to rise, rebuild, and shine in your own life.